When I first heard that this was the fight that we were getting for the main event, 302, Islam Makhachev versus Dustin Poirier, I had mixed feelings about it. On the one hand, I was excited. I was like, man, Poirier's getting another shot. Is this going to be the time that he's going to be able to do it? I've always been a fan of Poirier. I always think about this dude and how much I wrote him off and just how I could not have been more wrong. You go back and you look at when he got smoked by Conor McGregor. I looked at that time period. He had got wobbled by Diego Brandao. He got smoked by Conor McGregor. And I'm like, that's it, man. That's it. This is what it looks like when a fighter begins the downslide of his career and he's unable to come back from it. Dude, I couldn't have been more wrong. He reached heights since then that he couldn't have even dreamed of reaching before then, right? So my hat's off to the man. And in that sense, I like watching him. I like seeing his story. I also really like his style. He goes in there, man. He bangs, doesn't back down. A lot of heart, brings it to guys. He's always fighting, just top-notch talent and showing up with it. So, you know, I hear that Dustin Poirier's fighting. I'm always excited. So I'm wondering, is this going to be the time that he's going to be able to do it? We know how he snatched up the interim. We've seen all of these people that who's who on his resume, but he's never been able to go out there and actually get the gold. Right? The one time that we had the shot at it, we saw what Khabib did to him. So close with the guillotine, doesn't punch through to the darts. Be that as it may, is this going to be the time? Right? And I'm sitting here, I'm thinking, okay. But I had other feelings as well. They didn't just end right there. My other feelings was, I'm kind of surprised that he's getting it. Just a little bit, right? Because if we're being honest with each other, the man's 1-1 in his last 2 fights, 2-2 in his last 4. Do we really think that a guy who's 2-2 in his last 4 fights should be getting a shot at the belt? As impressive as his wins may be, as impressive as his overall resume may be, as much as we like him, as much as the fans go out, as much as he'll sell tickets, should he be getting a title shot? And then I started to think about the actual fight. And when I really sit down and break this one down, man, I don't see him winning this one. I don't see how Dustin Poirier is going to be able to come up with the victory if we're being perfectly honest with each other. I mean, when you think about Islam Makhachev, everybody likes to compare this dude to the Khabib for obvious reasons. But he's better than Khabib. I mean, we got to admit that. As much as people want to put Khabib up on GOAT status, right? As much as they want to put him up on Mount Rushmore and just have him be the man, have him be the absolute best of the best and how he was able to go about things and dominate people and smash and all this. Everyone wants to put him there. But the fact of the matter is, Islam Makhachev's a better fighter. All we got to do is look at the stand-up. Dude, his stand-up is miles beyond what Khabib had, man. It's good. He can lead. He can counter. He can go forward. He understands timing and distance. He picks his shots well. He's evolved so much in that. I mean, how can we not acknowledge the leaps and bounds that the man's made in his striking game? Because when he came out, we all knew what he was doing. It was very obvious that he was from Dagestan with the team that he trained with, and he comes out and he just starts doing the heavy grappling, and we all know that, and everybody worries about that. Everybody's well aware of what he brings to the table. But he was well aware that he was going to need to have a rounded out game, and he was going to need to have better striking if he wanted to be able to make the mark in MMA that he saw himself making. He's done that. Congratulations. I mean, look at what he's done. Look at in his fights what he's been able to go out and do. He's actually getting guys out of there with the striking now. Look what he did in the striking in both of those fights with Alexander Volkanovski. Look what he did in the striking against Oliveira. Look at what he's done as he's worked his way up. And then think about this. We talk about how good Islam's striking is. And I'm not saying that it's necessarily better than Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier's got some great boxing. Dustin Poirier's got top-notch striking. But he's not going to be outclassing Islam on the feet. But then let's turn around and think about the grappling. Dustin Poirier's got a black belt in jiu-jitsu. Do we think about him as a world-class MMA grappler? Do we think that he's going to go out there and be a world-class wrestler in the octagon? Because that's what we're talking about when we're talking about Islam Makhachev, right? We're talking about a dude who's got world-class wrestling. We're talking about a dude who's got some nasty submissions. We're talking about a guy who goes out there and just dominates people who aren't otherwise dominated when it comes to the grappling. And here's the thing. For all of the accolades that we may be able to give Dustin Poirier, here's the thing, in my opinion, that's going to really trip him up in this one. This is the one thing that's going to make the biggest difference in this fight. The one thing that's going to seal his defeat is the fact that when he gets taken down, he gets up by giving up his back almost all the time. He gives up his back almost all the time. Right? Just look at some of his recent fights. Dude, Michael Chandler got his back in every round. Benoit Saint-Denis got his back. Charles Oliveira got his back multiple times. You can't give up those positions to Islam Makhachev and expect to win the fight. It's just not going to happen. This dude is a master grappler. He's strong. He understands position and timing. His striking's good. And now, when you find yourself in his wheelhouse, grappling, man, the dude loves grappling. The dude is a master of grappling. He could go out there and most people who are well skilled in grappling will never know as much as he forgets. Right? So that's saying a little differently. Typically what you would say is Islam Makhachev will forget more about grappling than most people will ever know. Just wanted to switch it up a little bit. But the point remains the same, right? The point remains the same. His grappling is where he is at his best. And you're talking about getting up and giving up your back to him. It's never going to work. So I'm taking Islam Makhachev for the win in this one. I don't think it goes all 5. I think he probably ends up getting him out of there around the 3rd or the 4th round, probably be a submission. And when we look back at this, what we're going to say is 2 things. We're going to say Islam Makhachev was, 1, as dominant as we expected him to be. And number 2, I think that when we look back, we'll have to go forward to be able to make this statement. But when we look back at this fight, should Dustin Poirier still fight? Right? He's talking about potential retirement and all of this kind of stuff, which is another horrible sign. When a guy's talking about retirement, it means he's got 1 foot out the door. I don't think that he's prepared in his mind for this type of a challenge if he's talking about retirement. But should he stick around, I think that this will be the fight that we look back and we say, this was the one that marked the drastic decline of his career when Dustin Poirier was no longer able to fight at a world-class level. He was no longer considered a title challenger. He was no longer fighting in the top 3. This will be the one. He'll go out here. He's going to get beat. And should he fight again, he's going to be a step down. So let me know what you guys think. I hate to say I'm underestimating Poirier because I love what he brings to the table. I've been watching him forever. But do you guys think that? Am I in here? Am I talking bad about the man? Am I underestimating what he brings? Is he going to show up with something? I mean, the right hook's nasty, but he's got to land with it. His timing's great. But what if Islam Makhachev never really puts himself out there, never chases, never gets over that front foot, never gets off balance like we see so many of the guys that Poirier catches? Let me know what you guys think.